In today's video, I'm just going to go over the parameters in the off the chart segment that I did on the S&P. Maybe it'll help you understand it a little bit better. But one of the warning signs for me was timing on a weekly chart where I measured the prior high-to-high swings and noticed that a lot of them were very similar at, well, anywhere from 31 to 36 weeks. You have here high to high 36 weeks, 34 weeks, 35 weeks, 35 weeks again, 31 weeks over here, 34 weeks over here, and then the recent high was made at 32 weeks up. Now, what you do with that is you basically take those prior, high to high swings and then you project them from the recent high, and that gives you potential time resistance to the move. And notice that, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, there's 6 cycles in May, but 5 of them are from the prior high-to-high swings and projecting those from this last high. The other timing factor was the 1272 extension of the September 21st high to the low that was made in December, and the 1272 in time was last week, which was pretty much where we had topped, right? So there are the timing factors that were a little bit of a warning. The other things that were a warning was the fact that you had the 513 EMA crossover to the downside. Okay, when that happens, you have to realize that it's vulnerable to a bit more on the downside, and that triggered. This is something that I talked about after the last time that I updated the work on the S&P and told you to watch the 513 if you were on Twitter, okay? And that's where it broke. Now, another reason that is a warning signal is that this current decline, which is now 7 days down and 128 points and change, is more than all of these prior swings in the past, okay? This was 76, this was 62, this was this was the largest one at 94.61. So once we went through the largest one, that was another indication that we should see at least a deeper downside correction. And the fact that these swings down in the past were 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 2 days, and all of a sudden we are now more than that with 7 days down, that's another warning, okay? But what do you do with that? Well, if this last high is more important, that's the big if, then, and we saw these breaks, we always want to watch the next pullback for a possible failure. Now, there were some areas that we did not fail against this morning, but the next decision that I want you to watch very carefully would be this 290406 area. That would be an area where it could fail if it's going to. So that's something to watch. But also, you have to know that, I'm looking at the bigger picture time frames when I'm giving you something like that to look at on off the chart segment. But you have to realize that I'm also doing this other work on multiple different time frame charts in the indexes using timing factors. So for example, we had some timing factors for a possible low this morning. It was a little bit more clear in the NASDAQ, but you basically hit within that time window, and you also had key price support with a lot of that coming from some of these prior declines. Okay, so I projected those from the new high, and that gave us support there. I also projected some from that high that gave us support in the same general area. So what we had was time and price come together down here. It was a counter trend trade this morning, but it triggered, it hit, it held, it had time, it had price, and it triggered a buy entry. So now what we're going to watch on the way up is, are we going to see any failures against, some of the higher resistance? Okay, that's something we'll be watching. If we see a move into resistance and then it fires off a sell trigger, then it's worth looking at a trade. But if it continues to just push through these areas without sell triggers, then yeah, it's not out of the question for, a new high. And again, I'll tell you that you want to watch the 513 EMA. If it goes back up above it, the 5 back above the 13, then we're probably going to go and shoot for new highs instead. Okay, take it from one decision to the next. We've got the next decision coming up probably pretty quickly in Monday's session. Hope that helps.